This is the City of Waupaca, first Tuesday of the month, City Council meeting.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for attending tonight. I know this is a little unusual. I know that you guys had a test drive last week and everybody came through with flying colors. So if you have questions, not only about what we're doing tonight as far as the council is, but any technology questions, we obviously have Josh on the screen with us. And we also have some of those questions here.
Eric Olson.
Is now joining.
Eric Olson.
Is now exiting.
All right, so I guess let's make sure that everybody has their mics muted unless you're talking. When we take roll call, we'll wait. We'll call your name and then we'll just wait a couple seconds for you to unmute and say you're here. And then if you do have questions or comments, unmute your mic at that time, and then we'll be able to not have any feedback from noise in the background, and also make sure that we are able to hear everybody. So with that said, let's call this meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, April 8th, 2020, and I call this meeting to order. And we do have a flag that's right behind me. I ask that we all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America.
Just stand.
Paul Hagen.
God,
Is now joining.
and justice for all.
liberty and justice for all. Well, we'll have to work on that too. So. Okay, we're gonna have
Is now joining.
if I'm sharing this, it's stopped. Who's JL? No? Okay, we're gonna have Sandy read the clerk's open meeting statement for us.
This meeting and all other meetings of the Common Council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes, so that citizens may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting.
All right, and then we're gonna have Sandy call the roll.
Brian Smith,
Here.
Steve Hackett,
Here.
Lori Chestnut,
Here.
Paul Hagen,
Here.
Alan Keeland,
Here.
Scott Perchatsky,
Here.
Dave Peterson,
Here, and do you want us in chat room by chance?
You don't have to be, Dave, just uncheck that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Paul Mayo,
Here.
Dimitri Martin,
Here.
Mary Fair,
Here.
and Eric Olson.
Here.
10 present, we have a quorum.
Can I just ask, I know we have a couple of, well, let's go with the staff first. Obviously, Aaron Jensen and Sandy Stibbs are in the back conference room with me, but let's make sure who we have for staff and that all the council members know that who's in attendance. Kathy Gaza, you're with us?
I'm here.
Justin Behrens?
I'm here.
Ryan Ozell?
Present.
Josh Warner?
Here.
Andrew.
Andrew Whitman?
I'm here.
Peg Burrington?
Here.
And Tom Hart.
I'm here.
Am I missing any department people? Okay, and I know we have at least one guest on the line right now. Justin Fisher from RW Baird is with us. Justin?
I'm on, Mayor.
All right, thanks. Thanks for attending.
You betcha.
Anybody else, Justin Behrens or Kathy, that we're going to have on tonight with us?
I believe we should have some representation from SCS Swiderski.
Do you know if they're coming on now, or did you give them a time?
Hi, this is Jackie with SC Swiderski. I'm on.
All right, thank you, Jackie.
This is April Panko with SC Swiderski. I'm also on. Thank you for this evening.
Thank you.
The only guest I have is Justin Fisher from Baird. That's all we need for the bond issue.
Okay, awesome. The way we're going to, we've discussed this at length, and I've sat through a couple of other committee levels and also some other meetings. I think the best way to handle this is we're going to do everything by a roll call vote. So, you know, wait for your name, and when we're voting on something, even as simple as things like consent agenda, we'll take a roll call vote on this. When you make the motion, just say that your name first. You can either just say your first name or say your whole name, and then just say that you're making the motion. And whoever makes the second, also give your name, please. All right, any questions on that? All right, following the agenda, you have a consent agenda in front of you, and you can see, I'm assuming everybody can see the agenda. You don't have to answer this, but everybody can see the agenda on the screen. I'm assuming you also probably have one in front of you, but if not, you should be able to follow this one. Right, or, no, you're right here. On the consent, okay. So Sandy has one addition that we need to add to the consent agenda.
Under number 5, consent agenda, letter C, approval of bills was uploaded to the city website.
All right, are there any items that council would like to see moved from the consent agenda to the regular agenda? If so, then we would act on those on an individual basis. If not, we would need a motion to approve the consent agenda with that one addition.
This is
Okay, so I heard Alan, motion by Alan,
Second by Olson.
second by Olson to approve the consent agenda with that one addition. Any discussion? All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, roll call vote.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, that one went smooth, the first one. Let's move on to the regular agenda. Again, I think Sandy has another addition to add to the regular agenda.
Under number 9, new business letters H, I, and J, there was additional information that was uploaded to the city website. That's it.
All right, we have that one addition. Anybody would like to make a motion to approve the regular agenda?
Lori moves
Dimitri
to
Martin.
approve.
Second.
Okay. All right, thank you. We have a motion by Lori Chestnut, second by Dimitri Martin, to approve the regular agenda with that one addition. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
and Steve Hackett.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, next up, we have non-agenda items and announcements. We have the Municipal Treasurers Appreciation Week proclamation for April 19th through the 25th. I'm going to read that. Bear with me, the clerk had a long hand in this one. So this is a proclamation. Whereas the office of the municipal treasurer is a time-honored and virtual part of the local government that impacts the day-to-day life of citizens throughout the state. And whereas the municipal treasurer provides the necessary financial information to governing bodies and agencies at the local, county, and state levels. And whereas the municipal treasurer administer the procedures and keep the financial records that allow governing bodies to carry out its public function efficiently and confidentially. And whereas all municipal treasurers are the official custodians responsible for proper management and investment of public funds. And whereas the 1,853 municipal treasurers and the 72 county treasurers work together to collect all property taxes for their own municipalities and counties, as well as their local schools, technical colleges, and the state. And whereas municipal treasurers continually strive to improve the administration of the responsibilities of the office of the municipal treasurer through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and conferences across Wisconsin. And whereas Governor Tony Evers signed a proclamation on February 5th, 2020, declaring April 19th through the 25th, 2020 as the Municipal Treasurers Appreciation Week in Wisconsin. Now therefore, I, Brian Smith, Mayor of the City of Waupaca, do hereby recognize the week of April 19th through the April 25th, 2020 as Municipal Treasurers Week, and further extend appreciation to our Municipal Treasurer, Kathy Kaza, and to all the municipal treasurers for the vital service they perform and dedication to the communities they represent. All right. Next up, we have an ordinance that we need to send over to the City Planning Commission. So we have an ordinance number 05/2020. This is ordinance placing permanent zoning classification of lands annexed into the City of Waupaca to the City Planning Committee, and then also to set a public hearing in front of the council meeting that's set for May 19th, 2020. Is this Justin or Aaron?
Yeah, either of us can take this. Justin, I can take it to start and go ahead and chime in as needed. But this is just Fable Car and Collision Repair has requested to be annexed into the city as a part of a project that they're looking to do. This is just basically direct. We've already went through the first part of the Planning Commission. This is just part of the process where Common Council has to direct Plan Commission to set a permanent zoning, and then they will do that, and that recommendation will come back to City Council at a later date. It's just kind of a housekeeping item here.
Hey, Aaron, can you move the agenda to page 84 or sheet 84?
I can do that. And this is something we will cover later under new business as well, Justin.
Oh, okay.
So. Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, again, this is just recommending this ordinance go to City Planning Commission for discussion first, and then it will come back to City Council on May 19th. And right before that council meeting, we'll have a public hearing too to discuss that. So we'd need a motion. I'm sorry.
I make a motion to approve, send it on.
Okay, motion by Hackett,
This is Alan, I second.
second by Keelan, that we refer ordinance number 05-2020, an ordinance placing permanent zoning classification of lands annexed to the city of Waupaca to the City Planning Commission and set a public hearing date for the Common Council on May 19th, 2020. Discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Scott Prochatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, next up, we actually have, we have still on the agenda, public input. Obviously, we're not going to receive any outside public input, but are there any council members that would like, or staff for that matter, that would like to speak on a non-agenda item?
Mayor, the only thing I'll say is we did not receive any public input for the public input email we have, so just wanted to note that for this meeting.
Thanks, Aaron. All right, let's move on then to new business. We have an agreement, a renewal of an agreement with Humane Society, and I think Aaron's going to put it up on the screen, but that's on page 54 through 58 of your packet. I'll turn it over to Aaron.
Yes, good evening, everybody. So this is, you can see the memo that's up on your screen right now. This is something that Sandy brought to my attention earlier in March. And our agreement with the Humane Society was up, or is up, as of April 30th this year. Reached out to the Humane Society and their president, Monica Gardner, and with everything that's going on right now with the COVID-19 situation, kind of looking at that contract and getting some suggestions for a renewal was not something that she was able to do. She's out just with the technology stuff too, and not being able to work at the office is kind of a challenge. So understand that. What we did talk about is just extending the current contract for a few months. And what we suggested is to extend it to September 1st of this year. Really no problems as far as the way it's been running. So it would just run as is through September 1st, 2020. You know, we don't know what the situation will look like between now and then, but the idea is that we'd come forward with a new agreement that would be, I believe it's a 3-year agreement. There it has been a 3-year agreement, and we would come forward at that time. If we do need another extension, that's always a possibility too. But the recommendation here is that City Council approves the amendment, which extends the current agreement between the City of Waupaca and the Humane Society of Waupaca County to September 1st, 2020. And I'll just scroll to just a real simple amendment to the agreement here that's up on your screen now. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, again, we would be looking for a motion to approve this amended agreement with the Humane Society.
Motion Peterson.
This is Mary Fair, second.
All right, we got a motion by Dave Peterson, second by Mary Fair, that we approve the amendment with the extended current agreement between the City of Waupaca and the Humane Society of Waupaca County through September 1st of 2020. Any discussion? All right, Sandy's going to call a roll.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
and Steve Hackett.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, next up, we have action on the mayoral executive order declaring a state of emergency for the city of Waupaca. I don't think this is the first time you heard it, but we just want to give you an update. And again, that's on page 59 through 61 of your packet. And Aaron, you want to?
Yep, just nothing new here, guys. On March 6th, just a background, on March 16th, Mayor Smith declared the state of emergency with our current situation. And that can be done through state statutes. The power is granted to local municipalities and state statutes 323.11. It is legal recommendation that city council does ratify these or amend them if they chose to do so. And here's just some bullet points that some of the actions that were taken under that authority. Obviously, the state of emergency declaration itself on March 16th, the declaration to close the recreation center and library on March 17th. If you remember, that was just one day prior to us meeting as city council and then extending that closure period, which we'll talk about again tonight. The declaration to allow voting to take place via video conferencing and teleconferencing for city council and committee meetings. And then also a declaration allowing the special use permit for foundations for living to be temporarily amended. They did have a special use permit that allowed them to operate from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. It is actually within the Safer at Home order as a recommendation to municipalities that we extend hours for facilities like that within communities. So that was also a declaration that was made. So we'd be looking to, I guess staff is recommending that city council ratify the mayoral declarations as outlined in that memo.
Okay, any discussion, a motion?
Dimitri Martin, move to approve.
Second. Scott.
Okay, motion by Dimitri Martin, second by Scott Perchatsky that we approve, the city council ratifies the mayoral executive order declaring the state of emergency for the city of Waupaca. Again, any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, just to go along with this, we originally closed all our facilities until April 8th. Obviously, the governor has extended his, and that was his original date, which was April 8th. He's changed that now to April 24th. And the federal government is recommending April 30th at this time. So I think to make it easier for us to remember, for one thing, but I think my recommendation would be that we would extend the city facility closures till at least April 30th of this year, 2020. Any discussion on that?
This is Alan. Would it be better to say up to April 30th rather than no sooner than?
Yeah, I think that's fine, Alan. I think that's probably more appropriate. You're right. I mean, if something happens, we can certainly revisit that, but okay. I like that better, quite honestly.
Good, thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody like to make a motion then?
I move to approve that. This is
Lori
Alan.
Chestnut, second.
Motion by Keelan, second by Chestnut, that we extend the city facility closures up to April 30th of 2020. Any further discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Kruchatsky,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
and Steve Hackett.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, moving right along here. We have a mutual aid agreement with the cities of Clintonville, New London, and Waupaca. And again, this is Aaron.
All right, so throughout this time period, the last few weeks, we've been having weekly meetings with the city administrators of those communities, myself, Waupaca, New London, and Clintonville. And one thing that we came across was a 1999 agreement that talked about mutual aid with public works departments, not only for those communities, but also Marion was in there, as well as Manawa, and as well as the county of Waupaca. At this time, we are actually, so we drafted, and when I say we, New London really put together a draft, their public works director, of a mutual aid agreement that we could use that is really just more updated. It clearly defines some indemnification clauses, just a little beefed up agreement, but with the same exact idea in mind. What I will also say is that we actually are still under that 1999 agreement because it automatically renewed each year if we didn't do anything about it. So it's really in the exact same premise as that 1999 agreement. It's just it's a kind of a beefed up agreement that outlines how the mechanics of it would work should one of us need assistance from one of the other communities. This agreement, I'm going to scroll down to it here. You can see the old one is here starting on page 63 of your packets. Or I'm sorry, yeah, 63. And then the new one is page 71. And I can assure everyone that this has been looked at by legal counsel. And they have, I guess the only thing that they would say, and what they say about all these mutual aid agreements, is that the indemnification clause can always be beefed up even more. The nice thing is that within this agreement, it does state that city administrators will meet biannually, and we will discuss this. And if we have any changes, or if we want to make it more detailed in one area, we can always bring that forward. All of us city administrators agree that we are comfortable with this to start. The only other thing I will say is that we can always add the county, and we can add, Marion was in it before, or we can add Manawa or whoever. At this point, we're just bringing it forward with our 4 municipalities. So do anyone have any questions with the agreement?
This is Alan. Were Manawa and Marion and the county contacted about this?
No, they were not yet. We haven't been in contact with them. Well, the county was, excuse me. The county has been in on those meetings as well. Not Casey Beiersdorf, but just representatives of the county who probably wouldn't be the correct people anyway. So no, they have not been. But we do anticipate having a phone call with them in the next couple of weeks. We just had some council meetings that we wanted to get it in place in April here, and then we could always add them to the list, even if it's next month.
Okay, any other questions? Obviously, we're looking at trying to get an agreement with all of the communities in Waupaca County, but this is a good start to take a look at something that's been around for 20 years and just reconstitute it basically. So I think it's a great start. Aaron's looking for a motion to approve this mutual aid agreement.
Steve Hackett, I make a motion, we approve.
Second, Peterson.
Okay, it was a motion by Hackett and second by
Peterson.
Dave Peterson. Okay. To approve the mutual aid agreement between the City of Waupaca, City of New London, City of Waupaca, and the City of Clintonville. Any further discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, next up, we have a resolution number 1452. This is a resolution defining emergency responders. And back to Aaron.
Okay, yes, it's on page, I apologize, it looks a little grainy. I guess we scanned this one in. But page 80 of your packet, there's a memo. And as we're working through all the logistics of this COVID-19 situation, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, as you guys know, was put in place on April 1st. It gives some added benefits to employees, and one thing that legal advice is stating, and one thing we're also getting from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, is that every municipality should define through a resolution who their emergency responders are. And the reason for that is that allows us to see if there is an actual emergency. That allows us to say, hey, you can't lean back on that that new benefit that you might have through the FMLA. Now, this isn't something we plan to use, but it at least gives us the authority to use it if we have to. Most municipalities are keeping it very broad in their resolution, and I'm going to scroll to that right now. This resolution is a template that many municipalities are using across the state. And it was kind of drawn up and shared on the league's website for those purposes. You can see right here, I'm going to highlight the positions that are on there. Law enforcement, EMS, firefighters, building inspectors, emergency management, housing and shelter personnel, infrastructure work, including building management and maintenance, custodial services, transportation related work, including road construction and maintenance, water and waste operations, any utility operations, communication positions, and all support positions associated with such positions. Some of these, obviously, firefighters, we have a fire district. Just to cover ourselves, we pay into the fire district, we put it in there. EMS, we have a consortium, we pay into a consortium, we put it in there. And then we don't have specific positions with a couple of these, but we have some people that may work on something like that. So again, the intent of this is to keep it broad. So in the case of an emergency, we can help direct workers to say, hey, we need you for this. Like I said, hopefully we don't have to use it, but for precautionary reasons, this resolution as drafted and is being recommended by staff to accept from a city council standpoint.
Later on too, this is Mayor Smith coming back, but just before we vote on this, later on, you're going to hear from the department heads and how we're using our staff. And I think that will help you to understand what we're trying to show in this resolution. So any questions on the resolution? Motion?
Move to approve. This is Scott. Olson, second.
Motion by Scott Perchatsky, second by Eric Olson, that we approve of resolution number 1452. This is a resolution defining emergency responders. Any discussion? Sandy will call a roll.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
and Steve Hackett.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, next up, we have a request for annexation. It's Scott Fable East LLC, which is at addresses N3303 Grand Seasons Drive. This is ordinance number 05-2020, and this has to do with annexing the territory into the city of Waupaca. This is the first reading, but I'll have Aaron explain what's going on here.
And Justin, I'm going to pass it to you. I see both of our names are on this, and admittedly, you have done more work with this specific item, so I will let you explain.
Sure. Thanks, Aaron and Mayor. The actual ordinance is shown on page 86 to 88 in the packet if you're following along by yourself. Up on the screen is sheet 84 in the packet. That's the executive summary that went to Plan Commission. Some of the notes on there and what has been talked about and vetted out with this annexation process is that it's a lawful annexation. It's contiguous with the city of Waupaca. There is room within our sewer service area. There is some state statutes that say that for the next 5 years, the taxes lost by the village need to be paid back. We have an agreement with the property owner that they will be paying for that. The annexation application was filed and was submitted already to Madison. So everything is starting and is in order. And in the near future here, you'll see this again. This is the first reading. There'll be a second reading. And then with this property, there's also going to be, some permanent zoning that's going to go along with this. And a site plan review that'll go back to Plan Commission, but not to City Council. So with that, the actual ordinance again is on 86. This will be approved the next time we meet. But for this time, it's just for informational and for review.
All right, thank you, Justin. Any comments on the ordinance?
Yeah, this is Scott. I have a question for Justin. In the 5-year period, does the city receive any property tax or not?
That's a Kathy question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Kathy, you with us?
Yes, I am. I am not aware that there would be a difference in the amount. They pay that amount totally to the town, but they'll still be paying our tax rate. So it's kind of like a double tax.
Yeah, okay.
You okay, Scott? All right. Anybody else? All right, let's move on then. We have the Plan Unit Development, the PUD for SCS Timber Ridge Apartments LLC, which are on Stone Ridge Road, and this is dealing with the final development plan. And here's another team one, Aaron and Justin. Who's going to start here?
Well, Justin, are you good with this stuff? Do you want me to have this up at all? Do you want me to go right to the renderings and you speak to it while I scroll through that stuff?
We'll skim through this memo real quickly. On page 89, I guess the meat and potatoes of it is Swiderski out on the west end is going to phase 2 of their PUD, which means there's several more multifamily buildings going up there, so a total of 56 apartments. You can scroll through now, Aaron, please. All these items have been brought to Plan Commission. Their plan's been reviewed thoroughly. Everything, as far as we understand, and should be on the up and up. We asked for a few extra things. They've complied. It's going to be a nice project, and I think in the long run, this is going to be a huge development for our West End. So if you want to switch over to the renderings and the overview plan, Aaron, that'd be great.
Yeah, so this is the landscape plan, which is probably the best overview of, let me close this quick, of the whole site. There we go.
So if you're not aware, this is, sorry, Aaron, but this is on 54, just west of JR's there. There's right now kind of a grass field that's sloped. Well, you can see on the renderings, we're going to add, Swiderski's going to add 5 more apartment buildings.
To the north up here, where my mouse is where their current apartment buildings are. So this would be right in front of it, like Justin said. My mouse, we're right here. These are 8-unit complexes, 1, 2, 3. And these right here, Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe are 16-unit, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then I'll just throw up some renderings really quick, just so you guys can get an idea of what they'll look like. Scroll through these.
So our zoning department has reviewed these, as I've mentioned. You can see that they're going to some very nice looking buildings, some very nice landscaping. It should be an incredible improvement out on the west side. There is a need for additional housing in Waupaca, so this is going to help fill that niche. So we're very excited about it. I don't know. I don't think there's much more I can say without babbling, so I'll open it up to questions unless Aaron's got to add some more.
Oh, here we go. I was missing a rendering there. There we go. These are the other style of building here. Remind me what I'm looking at, April and Jackie. This one is the 16-unit, or is this one the 8-unit model?
This is Jackie. That's our 8-unit building.
Okay. And then this side right that you can see on the screen now would be facing Highway 54.
Correct.
Okay. I know, Justin, you did a nice job. I have nothing else to add. So we would just be looking for council to approve the final plan as noted in the report.
April or Jackie, do you have anything else that you would like to add to Justin and Aaron's comments?
It's Jackie again. I just wanted to thank the staff. They've been great to work with throughout the process. There was a lot of going back and forth over the plans, and they were a pleasure to work with, and we're excited to be building again in Waupaca.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so.
This is Mary. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
I'm just wondering about the level of, what the income level or the rent level for these apartments. Will they be considered like middle income or low income people? that who could afford them. If you could speak to that, please.
We specialize in housing for workforce housing, so that's typically people with 60 to 120% of the median income of the area. So those rent rates will be in this area as well. So we're starting around 900 up to 1,300, but the rent rates do include all the utilities, including cable and Wi-Fi in these buildings.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else have a question? We're looking for a motion to approve this PUD then.
This is Alan. I move that we approve it.
Mary, second.
Yeah, we have a motion by Alan, second by Mary, that we approve of this plan unit development for SCS Timber Ridge Apartment LLC, Stone Ridge Road, and this is their final development plan. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a great
Thank
night.
you. Have a good evening.
You too. Drive safe.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have, I don't know how you remember names all the time. Resolution number 1453. This has to do with financing. So I'll turn it right over to Kathy.
Okay, I turned my camera on, so my item is on a separate item. This is for the 2020 capital improvement financing. We're looking at financing $1.5 million worth of projects, which includes Granite Street, the North End City parking lot and downtown alleyways, reconstruction, purchasing our share of the airport snow removal equipment, replacing the roof on the City Hall Library, Swan Park buildings, roofing and siding, the police department security access and the backup boiler, and a street sweeper and public works truck 156. Most of these projects have already been in the process with prior council approval. So now we're looking at putting together the borrowing to finance these projects. We are also looking at refinancing the 2010 debt issue for the TIF 8 East Gateway portion. And I'll have Justin Fisher from RW Bear go into more of this, but right now we'll be looking at refinancing almost 2 million of that debt with a significant savings if the interest rates go through or continue to be lower than what we haven't borrowed at, which is almost 4.25%. We also are looking at having these resolutions set up by bond council to allow the mayor, myself, and the city clerk to work with the financial advisor and bond council to hit the market when the interest rates are more favorable. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Justin, and he'll get into what we're looking and seeing in the market.
Kathy, before you, Justin,
Okay.
hold on just
Sure.
1 second, Justin. Anybody have any questions on what Kathy has just said before we move on? Okay, go ahead, Justin, sorry.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to present this tonight. So the last several weeks have been very interesting in the financial markets. When you're thinking January, February, early March, there was a lot of, fear and what ifs regarding COVID-19 and what was going on in China. And then when that hit the US in mid-March, that fear turned to panic. And that's what we saw in the stock market. I mean, the stock market was going down at a very, very high rate as people were trying to just liquidate their positions and get cash. That was ultimately what was going on. Is all that uncertainty and panic was resulting in investors trying to get cash as fast as possible and sit on the sidelines. As we're seeing COVID-19, new information come out every day, the financial markets are starting to stabilize a little bit, but they're still very volatile. I mean, you're seeing still pretty large swings in the stock market, but there is being more positive news, especially out of New York with what's going on there and the measures, communities all over the U.S. have taken to social distance and try to flatten the curve and so forth. So there has been some positive news, which has allowed some of that money that went to the sideline to be brought back into the markets. What that means for municipal bonds is that when we went through that panic stage, there was no demand for any type of security. So even municipal bonds, there wasn't any demand to purchase them, which shot up interest rates for a period of time. As that money has come back into the financial markets, we've seen those interest rates shoot back down pretty fast. So it's been very volatile, not only in the stock market, but also in the municipal interest rate world. But as we get back to that uncertain stage where we're out of the somewhat panic stage, that's where we're going to see municipal bonds be viewed very, very favorably. And so we've started to see that already. And so hopefully the thought is that when we enter the bond market in May, that we're in a really good position to capture some of the really strong demand that municipal bonds will drive. So in front of you and on the screen, you can see that over the last several months, I've been working with Kathy and her team to evaluate the capital improvement project list and come up with a plan of finance for 2020. So based on the different capital projects, specifically for the general obligation, meaning the levy supported type projects, TIF supported projects, the borrowing is going to be in the amount of about $3,455,000. This is going to fund the 2020 capital improvement projects. And as Kathy mentioned, restructuring of the 2010 bonds that's related to TID number 8. We're essentially going to be shortening up those bonds to capture savings and really be strategic about it in the way we're planning the TIF pro formas. At the same time, there is some debt related to TID number 10 in that 2010 bonds. We're going to be paying off that with about $90,000 in funds on hand from the city. So it's going to be a good strategic move for the city and move the city closer to being able to close the TID number 8 sooner rather than later. So the structure of that note issue is going to be March 1, 2021 to 2030, with the first interest payment being March 1 of 2021. The call feature will be determined closer to the bond sale. And the estimated interest rate around today is around 2.52%. If we were in the market today, I would say we'd be closer to that 2.25%. And the hope is that we continue to see strong demand and that interest rate even go a little bit lower. The other issue is going to be a sewer system revenue bond, the amount $1,065,000. This is going to fund the 2020 capital improvement projects. And this is going to mature May 1, 2023 to 2030. First interest payment being May 1 of 2021, and the estimated interest rate 3.08%. The last issue is strictly related to the water system utility projects. That's going to be in the amount of $1,080,000 to fund the capital projects, and will mature May 1, 2021 to 2030. First interest payment being May 1, 2021, and an estimated interest rate of 3.01. So for the timeline, because we're in a pretty volatile interest rate market right now, one strategy that the city has utilized in the past is to adopt a parameters resolution and really give you the flexibility to enter the bond market when it's ideal and best case scenario. Because interest rates are fluctuating on a daily basis, about 0.5% up or down, we don't want to be stuck to a date going into the bond market where it's in that 0.5% increase day. So we want to be able to be flexible and lock in interest rates between board meetings if the opportunity presents itself. So the preparations for the issuance will be made over the next month. We've already started the process with the official statement and Kathy. The bond rating, again, will be with Standard & Poor's. You have an excellent bond rating. I don't anticipate any changes there at an A+. The marketing of the bonds then will occur once all that is in place. So again, as Kathy said, the finance director, mayor will be able to execute the approving certificates when the timing is right and optimal. And then the closing, that'll be also, that'll move a little bit depending on when we actually enter the bond market, but the target is around that June 4th of 2020. So going to page 2, this is that restructuring of the 2010 bonds. So when you're looking at that left side of the page, the before refinancing, you can see the boxed area. Those are the maturities that we're going to be targeting to restructure. So those have an interest rate of 4.2% to 4.7%. And really what we're going to be doing is restructuring it so that that debt is paid off in the next 5 years at an interest rate much lower than that 4% plus. By doing so, that's what creates the debt service savings in aggregate of over $500,000. And that's, you can see just the lower interest totals is what drives that. Going to page 3 of the presentation, there's a lot of numbers on this page, but I think this does a really good job of kind of giving you as a council an indication of where the city is going from a financial planning perspective. So on the left side of the page, that's your net existing debt service levy. So in 2020, the amount is $1,347,000. And then you can see going after that, there's some drops, which is going to allow us to be able to take on these capital investments and not have your debt service levy increase. That's ultimately the goal, is to not have any more debt service increases, but be able to get the projects that you need as a community done. So we layered in the next 5 years of capital improvement projects based on the 5-year CIP. So when you look at the far right side of the page, layering in all those different potential borrowings for those projects, we try to keep the combined debt service at that $3 million or $1,347,000 amount. As the community grows and as TIFs close, that combined mill rate for the community related debt service will drop as well. So that's the real positive thing to see here, is that by you're able to keep your levy the same, but your mill rate should hopefully be dropping over the next several years. Going to page 4, this is an illustration of the city's bonding capacity. So municipalities are allowed to borrow up to 5% of your equalized valuation. The city has a policy to try to keep that at 3.75 versus the 5%, which basically instead of $22 million in capacity, trying to keep it at no more than 17 million. With that being said, you can see that even with the future borrowings that we talked about on the prior page related to future capital investments, the bonding capacity is still going to be fine. We're going to be underneath the policy requirement. So that's a great sign to see because, when we looked at this, 4 years ago, that this wasn't necessarily the case. So things have continued to improve for the city, which is great to see. Going to page 5, this talks about the sewer revenue bond issue. So on the left side, that's the existing sewer debt service that the city has outstanding currently. Once we layer in this financing, you can see what the combined sewer debt service may look like. What's important on this page is the debt service coverage ratio. So when we look at this, we want to see a minimum coverage ratio of 1.25 times. That's kind of the minimum. Basically saying for every $1.25 in revenue, you can have $1 in expenditures. That's kind of the minimum. You can see that you're above that 125 coverage, which is a great sign that utility's in good shape to be able to borrow for this project. Going to page 6, same concept here, but with the water utility. Left side of the page, that's the existing water debt service. Layering in the new money that we're talking about in 2020. And then on the right side of the page, you can see that in 2021, the coverage ratio is at that 1.25 times. So that's kind of that minimum that I just mentioned. And so we don't want to see it drop below that. So that's something that we're being mindful of because as you can see, the farther you go out, that coverage ratio will increase. But at the same time, we know that the city probably will have some type of capital investment, in a few years, whether it be in 2025 or thereafter. So any questions for me on all that information?
Can we go, I think I had a question back up. Aaron, go up to that page 4 on our screen. This is Mayor Brian Smith. Keep going up.
Hi, Mayor.
Good.
Hi. Gotcha, up here.
Yeah. All right. So under the geo promissory notes, the sewer and the water system, we talk about in the geo promissory notes, there's 3.455. I think you answered this basically, but it's of that borrow, 1.995 is doing with refinancing of the TID 8 bonds. And the rest would be monies to use for capital improvement plans moving forward. Does that sound right, Kathy?
That's correct, Mayor.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
All right. Just wanted to make sure that council doesn't think that that's all new money there, that 3.5 million. It's not. And then go down to page 6 once here. I guess I can't remember what my question was there. So I guess I'm good.
Okay.
So the item is really 2 items in that the presentation's covering both items in both the geo bonds and the revenue bonds. The projects that we're looking at for the water utility items, it pretty much is looking at taking advantage of the interest rates right now and the good position that the utilities are in and borrowing for their Main Street portion of their of the project. So about $500,000 of each of those bonds is going to be for paying Main Street. So we have a 2-year window for paying once we borrow. So we can borrow ahead. We're looking at it pretty much just for sizing the issues so that they're much more marketable. So the people that are buying our bonds would prefer to see $1 million issue instead of $250,000 issue. So that's why we're looking at funding the bigger projects for the utilities with a revenue bond at this time. However, if the market, again, with this resolution that bond council has written up, if at any point right now that the market goes skew again, we won't borrow. We're definitely in here to make sure that we're doing it, planning and making sure that we're borrowing at the optimal time in the market. Another segment of that bond of the resolution is that the state trust fund loan right now is at 2.75 for 6 to 10 year, Justin?
That is correct. And they actually just increased it a few days ago to 3% for the 6 to 10 year.
So we would still look at, if the market did skew out, that we would, instead of going to the market to get the 1.5 that we need for the projects that we are committed for this year, is to go for a state trust fund loan, because that's a 45-day process and can easily go through and get the money fast to help with cash flow if we need it. I'm not worried about cash flow. I think we're in a good financial position that we can work with what we have and use the money correctly and wait till the market is in favorable. Kind of like what we do with the equipment purchases. We wait till the end of the year before we know exactly how much we're borrowing for equipment and take advantage of that. So again, that's one of the planning processes that we have been working with Barrett on. If anybody has any questions.
Kathy, as long as we're on this page right here, I want to make sure that I understand, but also council understands too, that we're only locked into the 2020 CIP here. The 2021 and the future years are acts that will be done by future councils.
Correct. This is just some forecasting that we've been doing just to make sure that the projects that we are looking at bringing forward to council for approval and put into the plan, we can afford. And so that's one of the things that we've been doing for the last 4 years, is looking ahead at what that impact is, at what for borrowing and what projects can we put in. Just like next year is Main Street, and Main Street's going to take up about $1 million of that $2 million, but we still need to be able to do some other projects with either the other local roads or equipment that we need to purchase. So we don't want to tie ourselves down. But the other piece of the puzzle is that we've been planning for that public works garage to be built in 2023 to borrow. So if you can see the way we're looking at financing that project, is there won't be a tax increase when that project comes on board. And that's still allowing enough money to do some roads and equipment purchases too. So that's one of the things with the 5-year capital plan. It is fluid except for the current year, but we keep trying to make sure that we can afford all of the infrastructure that needs that the community has at an affordable cost.
Okay, and so as you can see, council, in 2023, as Kathy said, that has to do with the public works facility and structuring that in there so that we can build that at that time. Okay. Anybody else, council, have any other questions?
Hi, this is Alan again. I'm looking at the summary page that you had called for before, Mayor. And one thing that bothers me always is the thing that says callable, which in this case is to be determined. That always makes me nervous. What do we expect on that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's one of the things that we try to get the shortest call feature for the community without it costing the community, money. That changes daily on what it is. Right now, what we're seeing is that it's not costing communities if you have a 7-year call feature. So meaning that in 7 years, you can refinance, prepay, and do whatever.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kathy, before we go to the motion or the resolution, can you tell us one more time how much money we're saving by refinancing that TID 8? I think it's important that everybody understands the importance of that.
Yeah, I believe it's on page 2 of Justin's presentation. And if you want to keep going down right there. Right now on TIF, on this 2010 debt, we have just been paying interest and no principal, because at the time that this was borrowed, TIF 8 was distressed, did not have any increment coming in to cover the debt. And TIF 4 didn't have enough increment to share to pay that debt. Since we've done a lot of refinancing, and it's now callable as of 2020, we have decided that we're going to refinance this 1.995 so that we are looking at it to be paid off in 2025 and save the city about $500,000 in interest payments, and allow us at that time to close TIF 8 in 2025 because all of the debt would be paid off. But we're still looking at, we'll probably still look at seeing what else we can do with paying back. We do know we have some advances on TIF 8 to the utilities to pay back, which would make the utilities in a better position also. Their debt for this issue, Justin, for the 2008 refinancing, I believe, would be paid off by 2024 with that we just refinanced. So I think that would be just full cash coming into the utilities from this TIF 8 and TIF 4 closing. And we would be putting probably about $70 million worth of value back on the tax rolls at that time. A lot.
Thank you, Kathy. So what page is the resolution? I'm trying to find it here.
It's right here. So this is an attachment and it was added after the fact.
Oh,
so
yeah,
not-
okay. So you had an attachment that got put on the city's website besides the city council. I think you had four altogether there. This is the resolution that allows us to borrow the money to pay off the TID 8 plus do the capital improvement plans for 2020 Yeah, Kathy, do you want to explain why the dollar amount on here says 3.7 up to 3.750?
Justin, you want to give him how we came up with that dollar amount?
Yeah, so basically it's a hypothetical amount not to exceed. Typically we like to add a few $100,000 in case something comes up between now and the bond sale, meaning that one of the project costs has risen more than what you originally thought. Obviously that would be, go back to you for consideration on increasing that cost, but just to keep the flexibility available, we're not going to hit it if everything remains as is. It's going to stay at the number that I showed you.
Okay. Any questions here? All right, we'd be looking for a motion to approve resolution number 1453.
Move to approve resolution number 1453. This is Lori.
Thank you, Lori. Do we have a second?
Olson, second.
Second, Dimitri Martin.
I heard Eric first here, so I'll go with that. Motion by Chestnut, second by Olson, that we approve of resolution number 1453. This is a resolution authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale not to exceed $3,750,000 in general obligation promissory notes. Any other discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
and Steve Hackett.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, next up, going along with this, we have two more resolutions. Let's do 1454. This is the resolution that we're borrowing for the water. That amount is not to exceed $1,250,000. Anybody like to make a motion?
It's Mary Fair. I move we accept resolution number 1454.
Steve Hackett, second.
Motion by Mary Fair, second by Steve Hackett, that we approve resolution number 1454. This is a resolution authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed $1,250,000 water system revenue bonds, series 2020 of the city of Waupaca, Waupaca County, Wisconsin, and providing for the payments of the bonds and other details with respect to the bonds. Discussion?
More.
Sandy will call the roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
I'm proud of you.
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Perchatsky, Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, just to follow up then, same dollar amount, but this is for the sewer fund and it's resolution number 1455. Anybody like to make a motion on 1455?
Move to approve, Peterson.
Motion by Peterson,
This is Alan, second.
Second by Keelan, that the council approves of resolution number 1455. This is a resolution authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed $1,250,000 sewerage system revenue funds, series 2020 of the city of Waupaca, Waupaca County, Wisconsin, and providing for the payment of the bonds and other details with respect to the bonds. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Paula Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
and Steve Hackett.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, Justin Fisher, thank you very much for attending and helping us out with this.
My pleasure, and I hope everyone stays safe over these next several weeks.
You also.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have another Justin. Resolution number 1450. Justin, you want to attack this?
Yep, that's me, Justin Barron's Public Works. So this goes back to Main Street and another temporary limited easement. But what we need is, in order to get an easement on public land, a resolution needs to be passed by the local government body. So that's what we're doing here, is passing this resolution for a limited easement, temporary limited easement, excuse me, for the Main Street project. And this property that we're looking at is actually the City Hall Square property. So the whereases are on there, detailing basically the need for the easement, showing parcel 35, which is City Hall / library property. Once this is passed, that's just the mechanism that the DOT likes to see, like I mentioned, to get these easements on public property.
All right, any questions? Be looking for a motion.
So moved, Dimitri Martin.
Second, Lori Chestnut.
Motion by Dimitri Martin, second by Lori Chestnut, that council approves of resolution number 1450. This is a resolution to grant temporary limited easement for Main Street construction project from Badger Street to Granite Street. Any other discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Chestnut, Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye. Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, you got another one here, Justin.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So the next page, 94, is my memo to council, and again, dealing with the Main Street limited easements and real estate acquisitions. Now, you probably remember we've approved these documents already in a prior meeting. Well, we need to do it again because we had our 60% design plans were approved by the state, and we continue to move forward with them. We've made some additional adjustments, and because we've made those adjustments, they've changed what we need for acquisitions throughout the project again. If you scroll down a little further, please, Aaron, stop. The three documents that need to be revised is the plat map, the relocation order, and the nominal payment parcel report. So if you can scroll a little bit further, Aaron, please, you'll see the plat map. Again, it's a plat map. Very little has changed. You can go down a little further, Aaron. If you could go to page 100, please. This shows the 4 parcels that have seen an adjustment. So all in all, the square footage has increased slightly for each one of these, which means that the total has increased by $650. There is no additional request for payment or for approval for cost because I got that the last time I was here. And all this is doing is just trying to get these revised, updated documents approved again, so we can have proper documentation for DOT. So with that, I'm looking for approval of these 3 documents, and I'll open it up to questions, comments.
All right, we're looking for a motion then.
Olson to approve.
Motion by Olson,
Lori Chestnut, motion to approve.
second by Chestnut.
Second.
You okay with that?
You betcha.
All right, council approves of the revised plat map, relocation order, and NPPR for Wisconsin DOT project 6424-03-00, City of Waupaca, Main Street, Badger Street to Granite Street. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
and Steve Hackett.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, Justin, you're still moving.
All right, so 102 is my memo to council detailing a new pickup truck for the water department. As you all know, we're adding an additional operator in the water department. So with that, we need another pickup truck. So we put that out to bid in early to mid-March. The bid opening was on March 20th. The bid tab is attached. We received 4 bids, with 2 of them being under budget and 2 of them being over budget. You can see there the low was Ewald's again. That's the last pickup truck we did. They were the low. They have a state contract, so it makes sense. We put on there a couple options for a plow, but that would have put us over budget. So at this time, we're not going to add on either one of those plows. We're just going to go with the baseline truck. Looking for approval for Ewald's Hartford Ford for the amount shown there, and to be funded by what was just approved, the 2020 water revenue bonds.
All right, do we have a motion?
Moved by
Move to
Hagan.
approve.
Motion
Second.
by Hagan. Motion by Hagan, second by Fair, that council approves awarding Ewald Hartford Ford at an amount not to exceed $34,317 for the purchase of a 2020 3/4 ton pickup truck for the water department. And this is to be funded by the 2020 water revenue bonds. Discussion? Okay, ready to vote? Sandy will call roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, thank you, Justin. Next up, we have Andrew on the pier at Shadow Lake.
All right, thanks, Mayor, council members. So quick run through the memo here. What happened is our fishing pier, and we're talking about the one over by Bauer Sox Park, where they used to shoot the fireworks off of. We had exceptionally high water, as most of us know. Ice formed around the metal trusses of that, and the end that was by the shore did not move, so there's some significant damage there. Aaron, if you could scroll down, there's a few pictures for you guys to look at. So you can see it's warped, bent. Keep going, there's two more. You can see those poles there. Go back up to that next one. Those are supposed to be straight, so you can notice the damage, and the little lip there is also bent, caused by that damage there. And so as we looked at this, as the spring came, unfortunately, we talked to the supplier, and this is not under warranty, something like this. But we did send it to insurance, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. We have not received word back from that. Have we, Kathy? Or have we heard something yet?
I have not had that discussion yet, so.
Okay. Okay. So what we're doing is we're looking at different ways to rectify this. You know, the way we have it now, it is a safety hazard, safety to our community and the people that use it, and that dock does get used quite a bit. We do have it blocked off at this time, but you know, we really would hate for somebody to get hurt out there. So we worked with Schmidt Boat Lifts and Docks, and received two different quotes. And the reason we have two different quotes from them is because there's two different ways that we can try to rectify this. The first one would be doing the same thing that's currently there, and the other one would be redoing that pier and putting it on pilings, which is exactly how our other dock by the boat landing is set up. And the same situation there, high water, ice, and we haven't had any problems with that. Now there is a cost difference there, but I feel, you know, I personally feel, and I think Josh feels the same way, that it'd be silly for us to do the same thing and just not expect this to happen again. We've continuously seen high water over the last couple of years. And you know, at first it might be a little bit cheaper, but in the long run, it's going to be much more expensive if this continues to happen every couple of years. So those two quotes you can see there. I got to scroll down on my screen. Hold on a second. The first quote to do the same thing that is already there is $6,227, if I read that right. And the second quote to make it like the other dock on the pilings is $9,668. Some of that difference you can see comes in the type of equipment that they need, and some of the different decking and stuff. But we still feel that it would be best for us to try something different in this location. Like I said, it's very busy. It gets used a lot. Most mornings when I come from that side of town, people are out there fishing and you know, using it. So it is very important in our minds to continue with that. As far as payments, the reason, let me, sorry. So we do have a claim in right now to insurance that we have not heard back from. We're hopeful that that will come through and help us with the cost of this. We want to use that South Park Trust Fund for most of this. And so if you remember when we set that up for those still on council, we set that up so if we use money from that account, the main amount of money could only be used for South Park and the area around that. And any money made off of that could be used in the other parks, but we needed permission from council to use that money from the South Park Trust Fund. So right now, and Kathy can jump in here if she has more to add to this. If the claim is not accepted, I'll try to explain this the best I can. If the claim is not accepted, we could use up to $6,400, $6,450 from that South Park Trust Fund, and the rest we could use from operational money, which would be about $3,200. If the insurance claim goes through, then we would just use the rest of the amount owed from the South Park Trust Fund. So right now, of the options, and unfortunately we don't know on that insurance claim yet, we'd only be using a little bit of money from operational budget. The rest would be covered by that trust fund and hopefully some from the insurance claim. So that's why we're looking to move forward on this in a timely manner, just because of the safety hazard of it and the amount of use that it gets. We just don't want anybody to get injured out there, and we really do feel like it's in our best interest to go with the version that hasn't had issues in the same type of water and ice. And it, like I said, it costs a little bit more at this time, but I think in the long run, it'll save us more money than anything. So hopefully looking for a recommendation from Common Council tonight to move forward with the replacement of the fishing pier with the pilings. So the quote, with the pilings, for the price not to exceed the $9,668.02. And then based on that insurance claim, we'll change kind of where that money is coming from. But the biggest portion will come from the South Park Trust Fund that I need approval for that as well. That's it.
Okay, any questions?
Yes, Andrew, this is Mary. I would have a question. First question would be, how long has that pier been there?
That'd be a great question for Aaron. Aaron, when was that put in there?
It was either 2016 or 2017, Mary. I don't recall exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, not very long, unfortunately.
Right. We probably should have gone with the pilings type of pier the first time around, right? Okay. Anyway, but I get it. My second question is the South Park Fund
Yes.
has ample money in it to support other projects that may want to be done in South Park?
Yes, and maybe Kathy can speak on that. I think she knows the numbers a little bit more. Kathy, is it $106,000-ish?
Right. The principal amount of the trust is $100,000, which is in a long-term investment right now.
Okay.
So there's only $6,400 and some dollars worth of liquid money, cash, that could be used, and most of that has been from interest earnings that we made on the original setup of the trust. So we did really well, and one of the things is to keep that $100,000 principal amount and not touch that, so that it can generate the interest earnings to be able to fund these kind of projects that just need a little bit to do.
Right. But so this project could potentially deplete the liquid money in that fund.
Yes, if Andrew would pull all $6,400 from the fund, he could. We can look and see what his budget is. The biggest thing is if we do have the insurance claim, we probably would have $1,000 deductible from the property insurance fund, and they would pick up the difference. Now, I don't know if they'd pick up the difference and replace it exactly the same, or be
Right.
able to give us the $9,000 pier thing, and that might be something that they'd look at. It'd be an improvement if, because they'd be replacing this from every year that we have an ice shove, so.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
And Mary, just quickly, if you remember, we used that fund as well. Last year, we used some money out of there for the new swim raft at South Park Beach as well.
Right, I do remember that. Yep. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
All right, anybody else?
This is Scott. I have a question, Andrew. If we actually are taking this whole dock and walkway out, is there any value to the big rectangular part that's out in the water to use somewhere else or not?
Sure. So the actual end part, the part that is the T, the top of the T, we would be reusing that part. None of that got damaged. So we would just be putting that on the pilings and then adding the new stuff on pilings as well. So it'll look different, but we're reusing that part.
Okay.
The other part, we may get a little bit of money out of it for scrap, but that's about it, unfortunately, the way that it is.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I was wondering about, I stopped and looked today and I thought the very end there where they all stand and fish looked to be in pretty good shape, so that's good.
Yep. Yeah, we'll reuse that. It's just going to
All
get
right.
placed on the pilings.
All right, great. Thanks.
Andrew, Steve Hackett.
Yep.
I just on one of the quotes, it was $75 scrap, but the other quote didn't have that. Was there a reason for that?
Yeah, let me look real quick here. Do you know which one had it on there?
No, I don't. I don't have the papers in front of me.
Okay. Yeah, salvage value, $75 on the first one. And yeah, that's a good catch. I will definitely make sure that when we reach back out to them that we make them aware of that. And, either way it's getting scrapped, and that's the money that I was just talking to Scott about. So we should definitely make sure that that's on that other quote as well, which would lower the price of that $75.
All right, any other questions? All right, so Andrew's looking for an approval to get this dock back in shape. Anybody like to make a motion?
This is Alan. I'll make the motion.
Peterson, second.
Motion by Keelan, second by Peterson, that council approves of the replacement of the fishing pier with the pilings for the price not to exceed $9,668.02. Discussion, any further discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
and Steve Hackett.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you.
Andrew, thank you. We'll get back to you in a little bit here. All right, next up, at our March meeting, we, at our second meeting in March, we did not have reports from our department heads, but, and we were going to wait until the second meeting of April, but I thought it was important that council, you understand what the departments are doing during this time, and so I'm going to let them weigh in on exactly what's going on in their department. So I'm going to start with Sandy.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. Well, with the election yesterday, I wanted to give you some figures, voter turnout and such like that. We had 1363 total voters vote, but out of the 1363, we had 969 absentees issued, which was excuse me, we had 1,099 absentees issued, which was the highest amount of absentees we've ever done, even higher than the 2016 presidential election. So that leaves 394 persons that voted at the poll site. And it's a 44% turnout. Now, you all know about the new, the Supreme Court ruling that we have to, we can't do any new ballots, any ballots that are postmarked April 7th. We have to count, but we count them April 13th at 4 o'clock. So there are still 130 of those outstanding. We're just hoping they all come in. I also want to give kudos to Roger Hansen, our street superintendent. On Saturday morning, I text Roger a picture of plexiglass shields for the election workers. So if you were at the election to vote, you would have saw what I was talking about. And he immediately went to work. I said, can you do this? And he said, how many? And I said, 7. And by Sunday afternoon, he texted me and said, done, and they're already installed. So I just want to give a huge thank you and huge kudos to Roger. So if you see him, you know, tell him thank you. And I also want to thank our city administrator, Aaron Jensen, for working his very first election. I think he can probably tell you a little bit more of maybe his experiences there. But I think you learned all the jobs, and I think you did an excellent job. So thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
And that's basically it.
Thanks, Sandy. Anybody have any questions for Sandy?
Yeah,
Comment?
this is Olson. I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm just wondering, well, I wanted to also say that I voted in person and I thought it was a very smooth operation. And so again, like Sandy said, kudos to everyone for running it so well. I also wanted to know, I guess, with all the additions that had to be done, do we know how much more this election costs compared to others?
I don't have final numbers yet. I have no final numbers yet. I'm sorry. I can maybe give you that at the next month meeting.
Okay, I was just curious if it was like a lot more money and where that was all coming from.
Well, we have money in our election budget. One thing I can tell you is that when Roger was at Noffke Lumber, he called me and he said, well, you know, the plexiglass are $60 each. And we had 7 of them. And I said, we need them. We need to protect our people. So, I mean, there's an extra expense that we normally would not have. But I don't have any final cost yet, Eric. I can try to get you that for the next report.
Yeah, that's no big deal. So, I mean, those can be stored and used in the future as well, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. They're very sturdy.
Okay, yeah, I thought they were awesome. So great job to Roger and everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was very grateful.
Anybody else for Sandy? Kathy, you're up. Peg, you're on deck.
Okay, is an answer to Alderman Olson's question is that part of the FEMA declaration may cover some of the election costs that have been exponential this year. So I'm not quite sure. We are tracking anything that has to do with COVID-19 costs, whether it's overtime, additional cleanings and stuff like that. So it's all part of the FEMA emergency declaration, and we'll see if we have enough to file a claim and go through the process again with FEMA. My department is still continuing to try and take water and sewer utility payments. Tina Dennis, the deputy treasurer, is working remotely. I have been coming into the office. I tried working remotely one day and felt that I need to come back in. Too many distractions at home. The other one is our part-time front administrative assistant, Sherry Knight. She has been helping the last couple weeks with the election and answering the phones and directing people. So my staff is keeping up to date on the finance side of the store. The state has delayed some of the annual reporting because we just can't get the information together as we're being bombarded on a daily basis by COVID-19 and emails and stuff changing all the time. We are receiving our 2019 transit grant vehicle tomorrow. So you'll see another new rear assist caravan coming in, and that was again only cost us $7,000 for this $40,000 van. We're finishing up the final touches on the July storm FEMA reporting. I just have a few more things to go with Tricia over that, and we should see what we'll be getting in a reimbursement from the feds on the July 19th storm. And we just continue to get information from different attorneys and the league as to impacts with COVID-19. Again, the city does not qualify for some of the federal programs that are out there. There is legislation going through that's trying to get some assistance for us. So we don't get the payroll tax delay on anything. So we still have some more, I guess, lobbying to do with Congress to see if we can get some help. But the biggest thing is we're hoping that they can free up the markets more for borrowing for infrastructure than anything else, because those are bigger dollar items. Otherwise, I don't have anything else.
All right, thanks, Kathy. Any questions for Kathy, comments? We're good? Okay, next is Peg. Justin, you're on deck.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. So our staff are continuing to meet online with Microsoft Teams, where it's important that we touch base and communicate with them on a regular basis. They're all tasked with keeping a journal for professional and personal learning that they're doing. And we have some exciting projects. We were able to spring the 3D printer and use it for a project in our community to make face shields for Theta Care. And Patsy Servey was running that 3D printer pretty much day and night to get some of those done. We have some staff who know how to sew and are making masks for Theta Care and for people who need them in our community, since the CDC recommendation is now that people wear masks when they're in public. We're reaching out to our volunteers and our patrons. We have been able to get a hold of some of the apartment complex owners and place materials for them in their apartment buildings in a shared lobby, and that's been really great. The children's and teen departments have granted money from the foundation to get new materials for the little free libraries that are in town, and so we are keeping those stocked. Staff is adopting them and checking on them on a regular basis and making materials available that way. We're engaging our patrons online with Facebook and Instagram and on our website. We're in touch with the schools. We're continuing to work on the $10,000 grant we got from American Library Association for the makerspace in the high school. So that's going on. The youth department is putting out challenges for families, things that aren't screen time, because we're hearing from parents that there's just too much screen time and they don't really need anything more pushed out at them that way. So we are trying very hard to get challenges that they can do on their own, science experiments, things to do outside, and also actual books. So that's some of what we're working on. We made an online form available off of our website with the assistance of our system. And that means that people can sign up for a library card and they can get access to all of our digital resources that are available through the shared library system, the state library system. So digital ebooks and audiobooks, magazines are available, and that is actually linked right to our website, so in both SOUP, and anyone can get a library card and then take advantage of that new application process. All of our phones from the library are being sent to our personal phones so that we can answer those phone calls when we receive them, give them information, point them in the right direction for the resources that they need. We're trying to keep the media informed, talking to the newspapers. The library ladies have been on the radio. So just really trying to engage with our community and think about the patrons that we serve and what it is they need from us. And we have heard from them that they're ready for the library to be back open, and we all are, but we're doing our best from home. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, Peg. Any questions for Peg? Peg, before I go to Justin, Peg, can you just tell us when your library meeting is?
The library board meets next Wednesday at 4:30, the 15th at 4:30. It will be an online meeting. If anybody wants to attend, I can make sure you get an invitation. We are planning on doing it online, just like this meeting is being held online.
All right, awesome. This would be a good time for those of you that have not had the opportunity to sit in on a library board meeting to just, check in virtually on this. So if you do want to, just send Peg a email that you want to get hooked up so you can attend that meeting. Thanks, Peg.
Welcome.
Justin, you're up.
Thanks, Mayor. So our crews are split up. We're doing half shifts, where half the street crew comes in. We try to stagger the start and stop times as far as punch in, punch out. We're identifying jobs, tasks that take 1 to 2 persons to complete. Of course, we're trying to follow the social distancing of 6 foot or more, and that's pretty difficult in the street department where 2 guys in 1 pickup truck is closer than 6 foot. So we're using extra equipment to make it work, but we're getting some work done nonetheless. The recycling center has remained open. We have asked that all patrons who are going there sort their own recyclables. The attendant will be there, and for the trash, the trash tags and the garbage drop off. But that is it. Sewer and water again are still responding, and the crews are split up. Same reason as the street crew. One thing that we have stopped is we are not entering into homes anymore, so we cannot do service calls for routine maintenance for meters, which is a big hindrance because it's slowing down our meter project while it's ground to a stop. We will enter for emergencies, water leaks or sewer backups. We will still do that. One thing we've done administratively is switch to the bid openings going to Facebook Live. So the approval tonight for that pickup truck was done on Facebook Live. So that was a first and interesting, which is important because in the future we'll be doing that for more projects, mainly for Granite Street. That project, the bid date and advertisement, we pushed back because as the COVID stuff's been happening, we weren't sure what we could do, couldn't do. And like I said, we're not entering houses for meter changeouts, so that makes it awfully difficult for the lateral lines, the lead lines, to be replaced if we can't enter houses. So we pushed that bid date back to the end of April, but there's more to the Granite Street project than just the water main. So we're hoping that we still get some solid bids. We can start the project, but then identify other work on that project rather than the service lines until this entering houses is lifted. That's pretty much it. Cleaning staff is still responding and helping out as needed. Certainly helped during the elections as well.
All right, Justin, thank you. Any questions or comments for Justin? Awesome. All right, thanks, Justin. Andrew, you're up. Brian, you're on deck.
All right, thank you, Mayor, council members again. So we're in discussions with Justin and Aaron as well as far as getting some of our parks employees back. So Josh and Casey. So they are also back and working on some essential projects. This is a really busy time of year for us to be getting things done in the parks. They come in separately, use their own trucks, their own equipment, and practice social distancing as well. So they're a little bit better suited to work in these conditions just because they have their separate equipment, separate trucks. They're in different areas most of the time and can stay apart from each other. As far as office staff, we're working from home and just working on a lot of reviewing of policy procedures, continuing to plan for our spring seasons as normal, so that if we do get back to being able to do those, we're ready to go right away. Some of the policies and procedures we're looking at are our emergency action plan, some of our forms, working on creating an annual report that we haven't done in the past, and the senior center is working on their accreditation, which is a very long process. So this gives them the time to do it as well. Other things that we're doing to try to stay connected to people would be Facebook contests that Cassandra's been doing, weekly contests to see, have kids try to go through those. We also have a new spot on our website called Explore, Create, and Play. I use it every other day with my kids, and it's just a bunch of different links. She's been meeting with people from Park and Rec across the country to come up with ideas to put on there. And, it has like cameras of museums and tours and all sorts of different things that you can be doing as well. So really a neat area on that. As far as the last executive order, it did close down our playgrounds. We have a lot of signs up on those. We also blocked or put up a sign by the skate park and closed down our batting cages that are all close together. We don't have any of our equipment out. Bathrooms aren't open at this point normally. And we have a few garbage cans out just so people have a place to put their garbage. The parks have been busy, but people have been doing a pretty good job of following the rules, following social distancing and the group settings. So those are things that we're doing based on that last order. That's about it for us.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. Any questions for Andrew? All right, next up is Brian and then Super Skippy.
Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah.
Our department is it's a lot different operating without having somebody at the window for us. So Jerry's been working from home for the last week and a half, and there's been a few challenges in regards to getting reports to where they need to get, but we're working through those. And I guess the biggest thing is if citizens in the community need service and they do come to the police department, we do have a red phone in the lobby. All they need to do is pick up and wait. It'll take a little bit, and the Waupaca County Dispatch will answer the phone. Otherwise, if people need to get a hold of Jerry, they can just call our main number. Those numbers are forwarded, or they could leave a message and then she'll get that or she'll call back. Otherwise, if people are trying to get records, a lot of times that's what we get from a lot of people, open records requests. They can still do it the same way. They can call on the phone, or they could just email Jerry at jallen, ALLEN, at cityofwaupaca.org, and that's working out pretty good with us. As much, I've probably been as many meetings as Aaron has been, working remotely and also going into the office. We've been meeting with the Waupaca County Chiefs probably at least twice a week. And then we also been having emergency management meetings on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday that we've been a part of. And just discussing things and challenging things that are coming up and trying to get ahead of them before they do happen. So these meetings have been very good. I guess one of the big things is there's a lot of rumors out that law enforcement was out stopping vehicles, and we were asking people where they were going and asking if they had letters from their businesses that they were working from. That is not true. We are not doing that. And then on the crime side of it, things have been pretty good in our community since the safe order has come out. And I guess I attribute a lot of that to the people that live in the community. We have a lot of good people that live in the city and also the surrounding areas. And it's great to see how many people are really taking this serious and trying to practice their social distancing. One of the things that the department, what we had to do is we actually had to come up with a special COVID-19 policy set for the department because of us being out on the streets every day. So we just had some general guidelines of making sure that the officers are cleaning and disinfecting their workstations, their vehicles, and their surroundings. And if they don't feel good, they're supposed to stay home sick. One of the other things is a lot of times officers would stop in at the police department on their days off. Nobody's allowed to stop in unless they are working. So we're trying to minimize the amount of people that are inside the department, and we're practicing social distancing. And the officers understand in order to beat this, all of us, including law enforcement, need to follow the CDC guidelines. The officers have been provided protective masks, gloves, glasses, their suits, wipes, and hand sanitizers. We're okay with our volume of equipment that we have right now, and we're trying to stock up so we don't run out. I have been in constant contact with our district attorney in regards to if there are people that are violating the public health order. It's a reminder from our district attorney that it is a crime. It's a maximum of $500 and 30 days in jail. And like I said earlier, so far everybody in our community has really been doing a great job in following what they're doing. And I guess the other thing is, if people have any questions in regards to whether a business can be open or they can't be, we just encourage them to go to the WEDC website. This page will explain that businesses, which ones are considered essential and non-essential. And obviously that order's in effect until 8 a.m. Friday, April 24th. And there's also an area at the bottom of the page that is for a essential business designation inquiry. So that allows people to submit an inquiry to the state for an answer to find out whether the business is essential or not. And the last thing is, I got notified yesterday that our drug take back that was scheduled for April 25th is canceled. I'm assuming we're not going to have one, and they're going to wait for the fall one. But that's always been a really good drive for us to get the prescription medication out of people's homes to a safe spot. So that's all I have, Mayor. If anybody has any questions.
Chief, thank you. Anybody got any questions? All right, Josh is up. Aaron, you're on deck.
Okay, I'll start out talking about Waupaca Online. The way we're operating is all staff is based from home, and Ralph and I are working close on dispatching our technicians out on an as-needed basis to work on infrastructure work. It's jobs they can go out by themselves, do by themselves. Only in extreme cases are we visiting customer residences, and if we need to fix their service, we're only doing work outside the house, and staff's been instructed to use the cell phone to communicate with the customer when on site so that we're avoiding any contact. Since the safe at home order has been put in place, we are not doing new customer installations, and so far we've turned down 14 potential customers. We have been having issues with our link capacity between City Hall and the Shambo water tower that we've been maxing out. And on a temporary basis, we're rerouting that over to Mount Tom and then from Mount Tom to Shambo. And the big reason for that is we're having line of sight issues between City Hall and the Shambo water tower that's degrading our signal. And long term, we're going to need to look at building a tower at City Hall that's at least 20 or 30 feet taller than where we are right now, but that's more long term. Our internet usage has gone up a lot with everyone working from home and doing their schooling from home. And when we look at our monitoring system where we graph everything, before this started, our daily average was 150 megabits per second. Now we're averaging over the course of a 24-hour day, 215 megabits per second. And past few days, we've been hitting our top bandwidth usage ever on the system, over 330 megabits per second at peak times. And just want to give a thank you to Nick and Durant and Ralph for all their work on a challenging situation with operation that's very hands-on, their flexibility during their normal work time to go out and work on needs to get some minor issues fixed and to get data flowing better, such as our issue with Shambo, so our customers are well supported with what they need. Community media side, all of our in-studio programs that we do are on hold. All the things we do in the community, like taping Winchester and Historical Society, are all on hold. We've kind of shifted. We're using our community media, Facebook Live, our TV station, and our radio station to put our government meetings live on the air. Typically in the past, it's just city council and city plan that are live, and we re-air everything else, the audio, after the fact. And we're doing everything live, such as school board, police and fire commission, park board, etc., to help meet open meeting laws so that the public's able to attend these meetings. So I've been handling all those in the evening, and we'll be handling those until we're back meeting in person. I sent my community media part-time staff home with microphones and mixer boards so that they can do some work and contribute to the radio station. Since we're paying our part-time staff their average hours, they're doing some contributions from home. April's Poetry Month, and we've been utilizing the radio station a bit for that. We've got a new episode of Waupaca Local Live with the Community Arts Board on the air that we taped over Zoom, featuring some young local talent sharing poetry and song lyrics that's on the air. Library staff has been contributing short poems that we're airing, and this week and next week we're airing a different poem, 10 a.m., 1 p.m., and 5 p.m. on the radio station. And we've got an interview on the air that Pat Fair did, interviewing the state poet laureate. So radio stations being utilized to help celebrate Poetry Month a little bit. And then each week, Aaron and I, along with Ron Sari from the school district, are doing a weekly community update that's posted on Facebook, the city website, and the radio station. And then this week, Chief Hozell participated in one as well. IT side, a lot of time was spent getting our staff set up to work from home, and outside of just a few minor things up front, from what I've heard, that's been working pretty well. Most of my IT projects are on hold till I get back into the office. I've been working with the finance department on getting our ExecuTime system upgrade going. That's our timekeeping system. Our department head group on Mondays, I'm demoing a different feature each week as part of our Microsoft 365 subscription. That was something identified in our strategic plan to look at. Have been doing some updates to our digital signage, and then we're going to be rescheduling our electronics recycling to this fall. And next couple weeks, I'll work with Terry at the chamber and work on getting a new date set for that.
All right. Any questions from Josh? Hey, a big thank you to Josh. As much as you are concerned about logging in virtually, Josh has made this a lot easier for all of us. We've been able to just punch in and go to these meetings, and we've had a lot of them in the last few weeks, and they've been working really good. So thanks, Josh.
Thanks.
All right, let's go to Aaron then.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Smith. I think a lot of people, so I've kind of had my hands in a lot of the things that have already been reported on. I'm gonna make this short and sweet. Community preparedness, which Chief touched on, or as he referred to as emergency management, we're meeting with our community partners 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that's been good. We're meeting at 12:30, and those meetings are getting shorter, which is always a good thing. And I think one of the things that's probably most valuable is we get daily updates from Jed Wolt at the County Health Department and Andy Carlin with Waupaca County Emergency Management, and that's shared with our hospital provider, with our other healthcare providers, the Vets Home, Bethany Home, all of our emergency personnel. The Mayor Smith is in on those meetings as well, and just to have that constant communication every other day, we feel like is important. So that's been going well. Obviously, what Mayor Smith just said with Josh's work over the last few weeks, with the technology and just getting that set so we can continue to do business the way that we are accustomed to doing, or actually not really accustomed to doing, but at least we're getting the amount done that we're accustomed to doing. And just being involved in that, and Josh has done an excellent job with that. And then a little bit with staffing structures and working with our Public Works Department and Parks Department, as Andrew and Justin already stated. I have a couple other things I think that you guys would maybe find of interest. I don't know if you probably didn't watch our video today yet that Josh recorded with myself and Ron from the school district, but you might find some of the state trends interesting from a public health side of things. Right now in our county, we have 142 negative cases of COVID-19. We have 2 positive cases, and then the one obviously very unfortunate death. Our state trends are what's very interesting to me. I was surprised to hear this today. If you date back to April 1st, we had 190 new cases. The next day on the 2nd, we had 180, 186, 196, and then 155, 173, 138 on April 7th. So, if you're paying attention to the national news and you're looking at the state of New York, and every day it's like, what's that number going to be? Because where are we at in our peak, and are we headed the right direction, and is what we're doing making a difference? And if you look at the Wisconsin state numbers, those numbers would suggest that what we are doing is making a difference. So I think it's important that we all encourage each other to continue doing what we're doing. Don't relax on what we're doing, because it certainly doesn't mean we're anywhere near the end. I hope we are, but we certainly can't say that. So I think that was some interesting data to share. They did confirm that influenza cases have gone down dramatically, like they've never seen before, which you have to believe is due to the things we're doing with social distancing. The only unfortunate part is COVID-19 is believed to be about 10 times more contagious than influenza, but I think that's another good indicator about where we're headed and what we're doing, and it's a credit to everyone that's doing the things that the CDC is suggesting. I think those are pretty much the updates from public health. The other things I want to say is the elections, and it's been touched on a couple times here. Sandy and Barb did an incredible job, and Linda Hagan, who's Paul's wife, who's our chief inspector, did an incredible job as well. I believe this was her first time, Sandy, right? Being the chief inspector? Second time, okay. Well, it certainly didn't look like her first time. In a 48-hour span, that was a pretty up and down roller coaster, probably stressful time for clerks across the state and chief inspectors across the state. And I can tell you that Barb and Sandy and Linda handled it as well as you could possibly imagine. So kudos to them and to all of our workers who showed up for Election Day. And then the only other thing I want to say is talk about the remote work. We weren't sure how that was going to go exactly. I wasn't sure how it was going to go. And what I can tell you right now is just in checking in with our staff, trying to check in with them every day. Some of them I don't get to every day. But what I can tell you is the work is getting done, which is awesome to see, and it's a credit to the character of our staff, not only at the department head level, but at our division head level and on through the organization. The one thing I will say is that I will say the work is getting done, but I can tell you my list, I would have expected to have some things done by now that aren't. And I'm sure that is the case with all of our department heads, because the reality is that this is our priority right now. And once we start working on some of that other stuff, it's good to get to that other stuff. But the COVID-19 stuff and the things that come with that quickly jump up and remind us that, hey, we have to make sure we're paying the appropriate attention to our current situation. So those are just the notes I wanted to kind of go through, and I just want to thank everybody. Those are some cute kids there, Justin. Thank all of our staff, and thank council for the support that you guys have given throughout this time. If it feels like it's going well, you know, sometimes that's just taken for granted. And we only notice when things go bad. Let me tell you that things don't go well on accident, and things don't go smoothly on accident. They go well because we have people in our organization, from council members through the staff, that are acting in a way that allows it to go well. And I can't say enough about that, and how appreciative I am to be a part of that. So thank you guys. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Aaron, thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments for Aaron?
This is Paul. Just thought I'd let you know that Linda did hear that, Aaron. So you gave her a big head.
Awesome. Well deserved, it sounds. All right, just one communication recommendation under the mayor. Well, maybe a couple. One, expect to see a survey in the near future. I don't know if it's going out tonight yet, but it will be.
Yeah, I can get it out tonight.
There'll be a survey that's coming out, asking you just to complete that and get that back to us. That it's basically just going to be, we're dealing with the meeting tonight and how it worked for you, and if you have any suggestions or recommendations. But just look in your email box, that should be out there for you. I think you can expect, obviously, our next meeting, which is Tuesday, April 21st, will again be done virtually. I did want to go back. I did give Peg the opportunity to tell you when her meeting was. I do know that Police and Fire Commission, Brian, are you still on? When is your Police and Fire Commission meeting?
It's going to be next Tuesday at 4:30.
Okay. So again, anybody that's interested in sitting in on that, contact Brian and he can send you an invite. And then Andrew, you have one coming up too, right?
Yeah, park board is tomorrow night, actually, at 5:15. So if interested in sitting in on that, just let me know.
Okay, anybody else have any meetings? Any council members want to say anything else?
Hi, this is Alan. I just want to say I am exceptionally proud of staff and the job they've been doing.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. That is great to hear, and they have done a wonderful job. There's no doubt. Anybody else?
And I also want to ditto what Alan said. It's so impressive what you folks have done, and I'm just proud to be part of the organization.
All right. Anybody else?
Hi, Mary, this is Lori. I just want to say thank you too, because it is amazing when you see how well everything is just going, and it's all due to all of you. So thanks so much.
All right, Paul Hagan, you're up.
I move to adjourn.
Alan seconds.
Motion by Hagan, second by Keelan, that we adjourn till our next meeting, which is on Tuesday, April 21st, 2020, subject to call. All in favor? We better do a roll call here. Last roll call of the night. Sandy will call the roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Better hurry up.
Lori Chestnut,
Lori?
Lori,
Yes, aye.
Thank you. Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
His mic.
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, everybody, you can hit that red button. Have a great night.